PFF TV, Solomon Wilcotts, Steve Palazzolo. We're here to talk about the top 25 players under the age of 25 at the start of the season, all right? So these are players heading into the season under 25 years of age, but they've already made their mark. And I know you've got your eyes on these quarterbacks, and chief among them has to be Patrick Mahomes.
Well, it's great to see the quarterbacks on the list because, you know, there's this big question. What happens when Brady and Breeze and Rodgers, they get old and move on? Roethlisberger, Rivers.
Who's the next generation, right?
We've got some now. We've got a few to talk about. So with Patrick Mahomes and what he was able to do last year, you know, he flashed it a little bit in 2017, that one start that he had in Week 17, but even just from the get-go last year in the preseason, you just kind of had that feeling it was going to be a potentially special season. That's what it was, obviously, with the 50 touchdowns. Most valuable quarterback in the league last year. And he just has that ability to hit open throws from a clean pocket, doesn't miss a ton of throws, but also has those special plays. And I think it's those two reasons. That's why Mahomes isn't just a flash in the pan, because he just doesn't miss a ton of throws, too, even with all the highlight reel stuff.
Everyone that I see who wants to talk about Patrick Mahomes, they're saying, might he have that sophomore slump? Where is the Achilles heel with this player? I said there isn't any. If you don't think that at some point during the 2018 season and in the postseason that defensive coordinators didn't have enough tape on him to try to figure him out, to try to hit, hurry, and harass his game, they threw everything at him. And all he did is keep bouncing back. He continued to make big plays. And if you look at just the 8 quarters that he played against the Patriots defense, he shredded them. So even Bill Belichick didn't have answers for Patrick Mahomes. So I'm expecting big things from him. I expect it to continue. You know Andy Reid's going to give him a few new wrinkles to help him take his game to, I think, even another level. Let's talk about Baker Mayfield, because that's where there's still some growth there. I mean, as good as he was as a rookie, he could still get better.
Yeah, and he helped make us look pretty good because we loved him coming out of college. And all he did was continue what he did at Oklahoma. Hit open throws consistently, threw the ball accurately. He's just got that natural feel. We talk about Mahomes and his playmaking. Baker's got that feel in the pocket, when to create enough space. And yeah, there is room for improvement. He only had a half season of what, like really good scheming, say, offensively, where the scheme wasn't great early in the season as far as helping him in creating open throws. The numbers weren't great because he had a little bit of bad luck, but that started to even off over time. You add Odell Beckham to the mix, and you've got this nice group of playmakers around him now. So I think Baker's going to be right in the MVP conversation as much as any of these other guys.
Baker could have the kind of season we saw from Patrick Mahomes 1 year ago.
Absolutely.
He's surrounded with so much talent. For me, though, the only question mark that I have with Bake is you got to protect the football. I've seen him at times because he's got some gunslinger in him, and he'll throw the ball into some crowded areas. It's only one receiver, and there's a host of defensive backs. He thinks he has the arm talent to win in those situations. But in the NFL, you've got to protect the football. You have to take your strikes. You have to swing for the fences when the moment comes, but you cannot hurt your football team by turning the ball over. So if Baker Mayfield can manage those things, I think he'll put up big numbers. What are you seeing from DeShaun Watson? I like this player. He wins games for the Houston Texans.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic with Watson because he graded pretty well as a rookie, maybe not as well as his stats would show, and he graded well last year too. And he's done a nice job with pretty much only DeAndre Hopkins. When Will Fuller's on the field, though, statistically Watson has been fantastic, and Fuller's a great deep complement to what DeAndre Hopkins does, but he's played without Fuller quite a bit too and still produced, and he's done it behind one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL as well. So that's what I'm most impressed about with Watson. He doesn't have great pieces around him besides Hopkins. Now, Hopkins is great, didn't drop a pass last year, incredible ball skills, they have great chemistry. But when Houston starts to get more pieces around him in the coming years, Watson can even take that next step. So he's been fantastic these first 2 years overall. Maybe not as good as as the stats would show. He's been over 100 from a passer rating standpoint. He's been a tick below that, but still really good.
Tends to hold on to the ball too long. We saw him take some hits early in the season. He improved in that area throughout the 2018 season. Started to get the ball out a little bit sooner and making more plays with his arm. He's a dynamic player, but more importantly, he's a dynamic leader. So I expect him to keep winning. I expect him to continue to be productive. Looking at some of the other players on the top 25 list who is under 25 at the start of the season, how about Jalen Ramsey? I just love watching him play.
Yeah, Ramsey's fantastic. He took a bit of a step back last year compared to his 2017, but it's kind of the nature of playing cornerback. But if you are building the perfect corner as far as size, speed, movement, skills,
attitude,
everything. Oh yeah, is he confident or what?
That's right.
I like the fact that when he came into the league, there was a debate. Can he truly become this outside press man corner? Because he played safety at Florida State. He played slot. I mean, he literally has done it all and succeeded at all of those roles. So even though he's just an outside corner right now for the Jags, he could do anything, and that versatility is just another feather in his cap because he's really, really good.
Every time I think about Jalen Ramsey, I think of the phrase, speak softly, carry a big stick. But this guy speaks loudly and still carries a big stick. He is a dynamic player. I go back to that game against the Pittsburgh Steelers last year against Antonio Brown. He was dominant. And that's how good he can be. I think sometimes the noise sort of overshadows his performance on the field. He did take a couple of steps back last year, the middle part of the season, where his play didn't quite measure up to the bravado. But by the end of the year, I thought it balanced out. I thought he got back into playing the way that we expect from Jalen Ramsey. Now we just need more consistency in 2019. Geralyn James is another Florida State product that last year when I watched him, I said, wow. This guy's at the tip of the spear in terms of what we want from NFL safeties. He can cover, he could run, he could hit, he could tackle.
Everything.
He could do everything. So I see his game going even up another level in 2019.
That's my guy. I mean, I think Geralyn James could honestly, we talked about Ramsey's versatility. Geralyn James could play anywhere on the football field. I mean, he played edge defender at Florida State certain times and just, beat up on offensive tackles in college. He could play linebacker. He is just your traditional strong safety in the Chargers scheme, and he does it extremely well. Plays the run really well, can cover tight ends. He made a ton of plays on the ball last year. I did a full video on him and Jamal Adams from the New York Jets. Both of those guys were probably the two best just in-the-box playmaking safeties last year in the entire NFL. Very similar players, but I think they are the prototype at safety in today's NFL.
He's only limited, I think, by a defensive coordinator who may not understand his full versatility.
Yeah, absolutely.
He has the football IQ to line up at a number of different positions, as you stated, but he also has the talent to execute at all those different positions. Not every player, just because they're an athlete, can do that from a cerebral standpoint. So here's a guy that you should expect huge things from in 2019. Also, we got to talk about one of the players, I think, he's kind of overshadowed right now in Cleveland because we're talking about Baker Mayfield. We're talking about all the talent on that offense, but Myles Garrett, he's ready to be not just a dominant pass rusher, but probably the premier pass rusher in the NFL.
Yeah, he is, because he was doing it all by himself last year. Him and Larry Ogunjobi played almost 1,000 snaps between the two of them because there just wasn't any depth up front for Cleveland. So he wasn't picking up a whole bunch of cheap sacks, and there's a little bit of dependency on the defensive line when it comes to actually accumulating sacks and pressures and everything. So Garrett's going to get a little bit of help this year with Olivier Vernon, with Sheldon Richardson, with a more rested Larry Ogunjobi. Maybe they trade for Gerald McCoy.
Wow.
So they're just loading up Cleveland in general.
That's
but Garrett, another guy that's lived up to the hype in college because he dominated at Texas A&M, showed very well as a rookie, and snap for snap, he has a chance to now get into that top 5 as far as pass rushers.
There's no doubt. He was dominant last year, and according to him, his then defensive coordinator, Greg Williams, only allowed him to use 2 pass rush moves. And now Steve Wilks, the current defensive coordinator with the Browns, said, hey, we're going to let you turn it loose. So we should expect to see him evolve. He's got such great athleticism, power, and quickness all in one package. He could be as dominant as any defensive pass rusher we've ever seen. Okay, so that's just a few of the top 25 players who are under the age of 25 at the start of the season, but you can find out more by going to ProFootballFocus.com, seeing the entire list, and tell us who you think are some of the best in that group. He is Steve Palazzolo. I'm Solomon Wilcotts for PFF TV.